Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Paul.
Ms. Powers, did USAID fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
We did not fund gain-of-function research,
That's not the
as
question.
you know.
The question is, did you fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
Before my time, there was the PREDICT program with which you're familiar, which ended in China in 2019.
This is a $200 million program, and the GAO has also identified that some of these grants went directly to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where there is a suspicion that the lab leak began the pandemic. Has USAID awarded funds to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in China?
Not to my knowledge, but I'd have to get
I think the answer is once again yes. GAO has found that there have been subawards of NIH money probably as well as USAID money that went to the Academy of not just medical research, military medical research in China. Now, part of the unknowns here is we can't get the records to look at this. So I've been asking for months and months for records. In September of last year, I wrote Ms. Powers, USAID, a request asking for records from the PREDICT program. These are not classified. These are simply records of scientific research, and we want to read the grants to find out what they were doing and whether the research was dangerous or not. The response I got from your agency was USAID will not be providing any documents at this time. They're just unwilling to give documents on scientific grant proposal. We're paying for it. They're asking for $745 million more in money, and we get no response. So 2 weeks ago, the ranking member, Risch, myself, and 25 other Republican senators, unfortunately, so far, signed a letter once again. It's still no response. We're not asking for classified information. We're not asking for anything unusual. 20 million people died around the world. You're supposed to be an agency that cares about the death of people around the world. We, talk about starvation and famine, and 20 million people died from a virus, and you won't give us the basic information about what grants you're funding around the world and who you're funding. Should we be funding the Academy of Military Medical Research in China? They're now off limits. But did we fund them? And who was making the decision? You know who ran the PREDICT program? UC Davis. Have you had any conversations with UC Davis about research in China and whether it was advisable?
So again, to set the record straight, first of all, the PREDICT program ended in 2019. We have people...
And yet it goes on in other forums and other names.
That's certainly not USAID program.
Well, you have a program called Emergency Pandemic Threats Program still, don't you?
If I could just finish in response to the first set of allegations, we have provided hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents related to the PREDICT program for the very reason that you say, because we are in broad
Not to
agreement.
us.
We are, again, as I know you had an exchange with Secretary Blinken as well, consistent with longstanding practice.
Not going to give them to us.
We have been responsive to the committees of jurisdiction.
Not going to, you've been consistent in not giving us any
That's
information.
not true.
But what you're
We've
saying
provided
is,
hundreds of pages in response to the
To
Karen
whom?
ranking.
To
the
whom?
Senate, Homeland Security, and Government Affairs Committee, for example. We've had extensive
we've been requesting this and
engagement with
gotten none of it. I'm on that committee as well. The thing is what we get from you and from the State Department at large is that if Senator Menendez signs it, you'll give it documents. Until then, you'll give us nothing. And we have gotten nothing, zero. You said will not be providing any documents. I now have 25 senators have sent you a letter, and you aren't responding.
Well,
And we
certainly respond.
want to see the scientific grants. We give you the money, the taxpayers give you the money. We deserve to know where the money went, whether it happened. Look, you're right, it ended in 2019. When did the virus come about? In about 2019. Some of the research proposals that came about in 2018 were Wuhan Institute of Virology asking for money to create a virus with a furin cleavage site in it, a coronavirus, a SARS-like virus with a furin cleavage site. That's exactly what COVID turned out to be. They wanted money to create such a virus. So we want to know, are there other research proposals that you either granted or denied that were on the same veins of creating viruses that could have become COVID-19? We can't tell because you won't give us the information.
Again, consistent with longstanding practice, we are providing extensive documentation. We have a whole team of people who do nothing other than look back at PREDICT.
That is not true.
It is factually accurate.
That is not
The
true.
fact that-
Everything we have asked, we have not gotten. I have not seen one document on the PREDICT program.
I understand that, again, consistent with common practice
consistent
across
that you're not going to give it
administration.
to any senators?
No,
and
we're
that?
providing all of the kinds of documentation that you're
You are
describing.
not. You're
we
being
are.
dishonest.
We-
You're being
No, I'm
dishonest.
not. I'm
We haven't
absolutely
gotten
not.
one scrap of paper from you. Not one
Again,
scrap of
with
paper.
the committees of jurisdiction, we are providing all of the paperwork that's
You are
being
not.
requested by the
I'm
chair.
on the
and
other
ranking.
committee. I'm the ranking member on the
Well-
other committee, and I haven't seen a scrap of paper from that committee either.
Well, that is.
See, here's what the
I
American
can tell you what has
people, the
happened.
American
Actually,
people,
I can't tell you what
the
happens
American
at the committee.
people think this, that because you won't respond, and because you respond with a non-response, that you have something to hide. I don't know if you have anything to hide or not. I want to see every grant proposal that had to do with coronaviruses that went to China from the U.S. government, from all facets of the U.S. government, and every bit of the Biden administration is stonewalling us and will not give us the information. It makes us think and makes us suspicious that you're hiding something. And it wasn't even you. This was the previous administration. We go back 2 or 3 administrations. We just want to see the information, and yet you sit there and you say we will do something, we are doing something, which is absolutely the opposite of the truth. You are not being honest.
Document shall be included in the record. Senator Paul has come back. He has another question, and I'm happy to recognize him at this time.
Will you be testifying, Ms. Powers, to Homeland Security over your budget as you've done today to USAID?
No.
You mentioned that the records that I've requested from the PREDICT program that is part of USAID concerning coronavirus research, that you gave them to the Committee of Jurisdiction. If you're not testifying before Homeland Security and you're sitting here today before the Foreign Relations Committee, I would wonder why the Foreign Relations Committee wouldn't be the Committee of Jurisdiction.
Thank you. Senator Kaine made a similar point, and so let me just, I guess, clarify. But USAID has provided hundreds of documents to both SFRC and the Homeland Security Government
So
Affairs
you're saying
Committee.
that all the documents that I want from the PREDICT program you've already given to Senator Menendez?
I can't. I know you're asking for a range of things. There are some that we're not.
Senator Menendez, are you aware of having documents on the coronavirus research that I'm interested in?
Well, I'm happy to let you ask questions of the witness. I don't intend to be put under.
No, I don't mean to be critical. I just
no,
don't think you
I'm going to
do.
respond
I
to
mean,
you in my own
Yeah,
time.
yeah, but I mean, I don't think he does, because I've been requesting this, and, you know, if his staff does have all this information, you'd think somebody would be forthcoming with saying, oh, we've already got all this. I don't think what you're saying is honest, and so my question is, you say you've given it to Senate Foreign Relations, and you say you've also given it to Homeland Security. To whom with those committees have you given this information?
I have not personally handed over
Somebody
the information
gave it. Did they
myself,
give it?
but we will
the reason I
absolutely
need
get back
know
to
is
your
I need
staff to
ask them,
ascertain
did you give that
exactly
to the
where the
chairman of this
documents
committee?
are.
Did you give it to the chairman of Homeland Security? You don't know if the correspondence was with the chairman or if it was with someone else. I would presume it would have to be through the chairman.
What I know is that we have provided hundreds of documents
Okay, but
to the
I'm
Senate
not-
Foreign
I'm not
Relations
worried
Committee.
about-
I apologize for not
But
saying that earlier.
My
and
question is
mentioning only
not
the
just
other
about
committee.
hundreds of documents. My question is about coronavirus research that USAID has funded.
Oh, sorry.
in
Yes, I
China.
mean on the PREDICT program specifically.
On the
I don't
PREDICT
mean
program,
hundreds of
on the
documents in
PREDICT program,
abstract.
but specifically on coronavirus research, either granted or denied. Some of the most important information we have is actually a DARPA grant where Wuhan Institute of Virology asked for money to create a virus that looks like what COVID became. We didn't fund it, but it shows that they were already interested in creating a virus similar to what COVID-19 is. So we want to know, did the PREDICT program give grant proposals for the creation of viruses that were similar to COVID-19 or that might have become COVID-19? And we also want to know if you denied any of these programs. It's important to us to know if they were asking for other money from you to do research that could have become COVID-19. But what I've gotten from you is not an answer. You're saying, oh, somebody else has all this information, and we'll pursue it, but then you'll be gone, and then in 6 months' time, we'll come back and say, well, we asked the chairman of this committee and that committee. They don't have it. The thing is it makes us all suspicious. You won't give it to me. Or you're going to give it to somebody else. You're going to give it to a Democrat chairman, but not to someone from the minority party. So this is all very unfortunate, and it makes us concerned about the transparency of your administration.
Senator Paul, if I may. First of all, it's not the question of the Democratic chairman. The question is the procedures historically have been that upon requests or when documents are provided, they're provided to the chair of the committee, regardless of who the chair that is at any given time. When Senator Risch was the chair, it would have been the same thing. However, since you first raised this earlier today, my staff informs me that USAID has, in fact, provided a number of documents related to your area of interest on COVID. And I'm happy to work to facilitate a review of those documents with you. My understanding is at a staff level, we have been discussing with Senator Risch's staff how to make those available to you. There are likely thousands of documents, and we are working to set up a system so that can be viewed electronically in camera, which we believe is a workable set of circumstances. So I'm happy to follow up and make sure that we come to a conclusion on that.
Thank you very much. The only problem with not being able to actually hold the documents, print them out, and write on the documents is it's very limiting, as you know, for me to sit in your office and read them. I mean, none of these are classified. If there's anything in there that reveals some spy's name somewhere, which I don't know how that would be in a science grant.
I'm not suggesting that you have to read them. I'm sure that we could have your staff read them on your behalf and give you an executive summary. But we'll work to see if we can come up to an accommodation. The question here is a more precedent-setting one, and it has not been the role of the committee that when the chair and/or ranking member request documents to then just hand those documents over to members of the committee. It has always been that it's been kept in a process that then can be reviewed when the chair and/or ranking member decide to do so. So it's a bigger question than your specific interest.
But it's also taken this exchange for me to even discover you have some of the documents. I still don't know if you have all of them that we've requested.
I don't know that I have all of them that you want. I have no idea of the universe, the totality of the universe, but whatever we have been given, we're happy to, now that I know that we have been given documents, we're happy to find a way for you to review them and see if that hopefully satisfies your curiosity. Senator Cruz.